Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to a new episode of the Lux Saigon podcast.
Welcome back to the Lux Saigon podcast. In this episode, Nick continues his deep conversation with Don Gian, the laughing coach, exploring the nature of infinity. How do we experience boundlessness in everyday life? Can laughter be a gateway to the infinite? Get ready for a mind-expanding dialogue where philosophy meets joy, as Nick and Don Gian dive even deeper into the limitless nature of existence. This is part 2. Let's go beyond the mind and into the infinite. For more on the simple book of infinity, plus private coaching with Don Gian and his free online communities, visit letitbesimple.com.
Pretend not to. It's innocent. We're not trying to pretend so that we can deceive someone or trick them. It's indicating, oh, we're forgetting, just temporarily. I also think of it as an innocent misunderstanding.
Right, I remember that from the book. You mentioned innocent many times.
Yeah, it's innocent because it's part of our nature. It's not a shortcoming, it's not a character flaw, and it's certainly not a symptom of mental illness. And this is really where my attention and my passion, I think, has been drawn based on my own experience. When I was 17, I was diagnosed bipolar. When I was 37, 20 tumultuous years later, I was undiagnosed and unmedicated.
Cool.
Yeah. A doctor I had never met before agreed to evaluate me based on how I showed up for, meetings to get to know each other. And there was nothing for him to warrant. I wasn't meeting any of the diagnostic criteria for the diagnosis. So I was undiagnosed, and then under his supervision, I was able to come off of all the medications.
Cool.
And the only thing that happened, it's kind of like your story of learning about radical self-forgiveness. What I saw that so powerfully and quickly changed things for me was like my first glimpses of the nature of thought. And that's still what I'm talking about, right? When we think we're separate, when we think we're alone, isolated, we feel lonely.
Yeah.
Right? We feel our thinking as we think. That's it. It's so simple, but we often innocently misunderstand that. We attribute our feelings to what that guy did, or this situation that's beyond my control, or something that happened a long time ago, or something that might happen in the future. How we think about these things determines how we feel, but only always like moment by moment. We're creating our perception. Yeah, so that was not completely clear to me all at once in 2008 when I began to explore ideas that sort of weave their way through this whole conversation. But once I started to see that, it was really powerful for me. And it was about 6 months later that I went to see that psychiatrist. And then it was over like 2 months of like sessions with him that we agreed, all right, like this label is not something that I have to wear like an albatross anymore. It was so badly distorting my sense of self. It had for 20 years. It was quite liberating and empowering to be free from that.
Good.
Yeah, yeah. And that was like 2009. So that was like almost 16 years. And a lot of, growth and development and exploration, traveling around the world, since then.
Cheers to you, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Right on. Thanks.
I want to ask you, what did bipolar feel like? It's like mood swings or something beyond that?
Yeah, when I was a teenager, moodiness was like the main thing. And I don't know now, in retrospect, that diagnosis was ever accurate. I have some strong, I don't know what to call it, like, it just seems really clear to me now, like so many other adults, I was evidencing a lot of ADHD traits that were going unrecognized and thus were undiagnosed and ultimately misdiagnosed as bipolar. And so I don't really have problems with mood swings anymore because I see where my mood is coming from, or where my, it's not even mood, like that feels like a higher level thing. It's just emotion, feelings, like moment by moment. I see how that's being created by what I think is true in that moment. And when I think something different, I feel something different. Always. Right? So I don't have an issue with my moods, but I do still have some challenges with attention and like completing tasks, other things that people commonly talk about as part of their experience with ADHD. But I don't have any interest in like getting evaluated or treated or diagnosed or medicated. I don't think it would be helpful for me. I'm not saying that anybody else should be influenced at all by my choices, but that's just how it seems to me, for me.
Like what I've realized in my own mind is like when I have low interest in something, I have a hard time focusing on that.
Yeah.
And also if I have like a low motivation to do something, then same as like, I don't want to do that. It's like, why would I do it?
Right.
I just feel like something like not so serious. It's just something like normal. Like if I'm not interested, I'm not going to pay attention. Like my students in school, not everyone is interested in learning English. So if they don't listen, they're probably just like, English sucks. And I just haven't convinced them that English is fun yet.
Well, do you have a good track record with convincing, or is there some other way that might not be convincing, but which could work even better at like getting them engaging in the way that you would really like for them to engage?
Yeah, what works sometimes for me is to make jokes. Like some kids that don't know English, they haven't learned words like poop, right? So then like, hey, look, you see this brown thing? I know you know what this is. Like, that's poop. And they're like, what, poop? Like, yeah, that's poop.
So just the word itself sounds funny?
So then they put that word and an animal word together. Like, oh, bird poop. And they see bird poop outside. Like, bird poop. Like, yeah, that's bird poop. And then we're just laughing about bird poop. And they're learning like little words like that sometimes.
Well, you should bring in for a snack some papaya, because you know what they'll call it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What inspired you to paint your toenails green?
Well, the blue that I had on before was like chipping off, so that.
What's your favorite color?
I don't know that I have a favorite, but if you're asking about my toenails, they're usually either green or blue or purple. Yeah.
My favorite color is blue. So I got these blue glasses pretty recently.
Yeah. So blue's your favorite?
Yeah.
You got some blue in your shirt?
Yeah, I love blue. I wear blue almost every day. And when I first got these, I felt so self-conscious to wear them. Like I felt actual fear, like real fear. Yeah, the first like week or so that I wore them.
What were you afraid of?
I guess of people looking at me weird. And also because my eyes were still adjusting to the glasses, I would feel kind of dizzy, and it would just make me feel even more self-conscious.
Are they prescription lenses?
Yeah. I would be like, oh my gosh, are people looking at me weird? And also I would see things kind of distorted, and I would just make this story like, oh damn, I think people are staring at me right now. And it felt so real. I had real fear about it.
You felt that way, why?
I was like scared of being judged.
Yeah, but what we were just talking about, what I was just talking
the
about.
perception, like the perception that I had. Yeah.
Yeah, can you see the relationship in your own experience?
Yeah. And like I can, like in those moments, I'll watch, like I as the observer of my mind will watch my mind freak out about it. And then I'll be like, I'll kind of be like the parent, like I'll just sit here and watch you freak out. But I'll still be here to support you. But I'm still gonna watch you freak out.
What's the alternative? Get drawn in and like mangle yourself even more, trying to like fight off the inner fighting?
Right.
Like who wins and who loses in that?
Yeah. I think before I would be like, I gotta find the right lens for this. Like, I guess now I'm enjoying more just watching this movie happen.
Yeah.
And the movie also includes my mind.
Yeah.
Figuring out what life is.
Yeah. Have you ever read any of Michael Singer's books?
Yeah. Oh my God, I love Michael Singer.
Let's talk about surrender.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That sounds about right. Yeah. I think that's where I'm at that's where my mind is at. My mind is finally giving up on finding some like final answer or something, because it's been seeking hard. It took a break for a while, and then it just came back into it, and just now it's just exhausted.
Yeah. I think that is probably very relatable to viewers and to me. Like, I think I was seeking through laughter for a long time, and then there was some, I don't know exactly when or where I was, but there was some point at which it became a different experience for me, and where I wound up was surrendering to being laughed. So no effort whatsoever, no trying, and no external stimuli. The same infinite formless energy of the universe that breathes me silently can breathe me noisily. Right? The same infinite formless energy of the universe that beats my heart, whether I'm paying attention to it or not, no matter what state of consciousness I'm in, awake, asleep, in hypnosis, delirious with laughter, like, it doesn't matter. Like, that heart is still beating. Like, there's a surrender to that, which I found was amazing and powerful. As a like a channel, like I became a channel for laughter. I became a vehicle for laughter of the universe to come through me, and it brought a lot of insights and wisdom, and I was sharing it all the time. And then came this sense that it's time to explore surrender in other contexts besides laughter. I can always come back to the laughter. It's taught me so much. There's like this long, breadcrumb trail of all the things that I created through my experience laughing. And I just went off in another direction. And this was following kind of the vibe and voice, like following the discovery of the vibe and voice of Don Gian that was just coming into my awareness, like surrendering to that pointed me towards exploring surrender more broadly rather than just in the context of laughter. And it was right after that, that not just shift, but like decisions. Like I closed down a group program that I'd been running daily for 6.5 years. And you know, I like cut loose this whole group of clients. And right after that, I read The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. It's like, it almost seems like I could have read the book first, but somehow I had to like let go of this other stuff. And then I was ready for the book, and the book really impacted me. And then I just reread it last week for the second time, and I'm now reading The Untethered Soul, his prior book. And I think they were both bestsellers, weren't they?
Probably.
Yeah.
I think I have the audiobook for The Surrender Experiment. Is that where...
Just his autobiography.
Is that the one where he goes to prison with a yogi, and they meet one of the prisoners in there, and they just sit and make eye contact? And
that is one of the stories he tells.
I love that story.
Yeah.
And also, I think one of his favorite gurus is it Yogananda?
Yeah.
It's the guy with the long hair, right?
There's a lot of guys with long hair.
But he's like...
Yeah, but I think that's one of them.
I feel like he was also in... I think Steve Jobs also was a fan of his or something.
I mean... He mentioned names that I recognized from other places, but I'm not like a devotee or expert about any of them. I just recognize them as familiar.
Do you have any favorite gurus?
Gurus, no, but I would recommend the book called Pronoia is the Antidote to Paranoia, How the Whole World is Conspiring to Shower You with Blessings. And that was written by Rob Bresney. And he's not a guru, he's a writer and a poet and a singer. And maybe some people might see him like a shaman.
Cool.
I just don't want to see him that way, so I don't. But if there's anybody whose work, let's say, or his writing, really, his like what he points to, that's really how I think of it. What I've discovered or seen by looking where he's pointing has been hugely transformational for me. The 6-month lead up to getting undiagnosed and unmedicated were the 6 months that started when I cracked open that book I just mentioned, Pronoia. Just completely altered the whole direction of my life.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll check it out. I have a good friend the night that we love to read these books together.
It's a unique book in that you don't have to read it cover to cover in a linear way. And it tells you this right at the beginning, you know, just almost joking around, suggesting a variety of ways you could read it, but then saying, read it however you like. It's in that sense, kind of like a coffee table book. You can just pick it up anytime, flip to any page, read, you know, one section or a few pages, and just have something to grok, you know, that will go down nice, you know, like eating something really delicious and nutritious, and like you feel your body metabolizing all the nutrients. Like it was like that for my mind and my spirit. That book, yeah.
Damn cool.
Yeah. And one other person that I would mention, who I also don't think of as a guru, and I just mentioned Sydney Banks. Sydney Banks, who wrote a whole bunch of books and spoke all over the world. And his, like Rob Bresney is associated with pronoia, Sydney Banks is associated with the 3 principles, which are thought, mind, and consciousness. And I can't explain what they are. If you read about them, it's going to tell you, look to your experience, forget about the words. So some of the things I've said here, you can see the influence of Sydney Banks' teaching. But with both the 3 principles and pronoia, I'm not here to teach people those things or to say, just read these books and your life will change. Like everything you're looking for, anything anybody's looking for will be found within. You have to look within, and every teacher of everything says that. Every every spiritual tradition, every religion is based, well, maybe not religion, but spiritual. Yeah, spirituality is always saying, like, no matter what tradition it's coming from, saying, look within. Yeah. So I feel really clear that just as with the laughter, you want to find out about it, then laugh. Like, you can't get anything from my words unless you're laughing and looking within for your own wisdom. It's the same throughout the entire human experience. Learn from experience. Anybody can be your teacher.
True.
Yeah. Experience can teach you, but no one can say what that experience should teach you. If it's your experience, it's up to you what it teaches you. And whatever it taught you today, it could teach you something different the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Like it's the nature of thought. And it's our infinite creativity and perception and so on.
So that's why one thing I like about Krishnamurti is that he'll say, like, the real guru is within you.
Yeah.
So you don't have to trust any gurus, not even me.
Yeah. Exactly. That's. I don't say it exactly that way, but it is the same idea that I'm trying to encourage people. Look at your experience and forget about me.
And then some other gurus will say, like, yes, the true guru is within you, but if you're not aware of it yet, then you should seek help from a guru, like another person. Yeah,
well, that kind of sounds like the gurus endorsing coaching.
Yeah. Have you heard of Amma?
Yes, actually.
She's the one who said that.
Okay.
She was like, there is a guru within you, but if you can't hear it, then
come give me a hug.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to know what that feels like. She's still alive, so there's still time to get a hug from Amma. So there's not many. I'll call them gurus for now. There's not many gurus left alive that I trust, but she's one of them.
There's something about hugging that I want to mention. Have you ever gone out in public with a free hugs sign?
I haven't done that. I haven't.
You're familiar with...
But I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah. I think all around the world, people have seen this. I've done it many, many times.
Cool.
And as with laughing or any other experience, it's always possible to notice something new and different. I hadn't done it in several years. And about a year ago here in Saigon, I went on the Tao Dien walking street. Just like a closed off road, no vehicle traffic, just foot traffic, extra vendors lining the street. So this is the kind of environment that it's perfect for to hold, or I was wearing, like I had a shoelace, to tie this sign. that hung on my chest, and it said "Om Mien Phi," free hugs. That's Vietnamese and English, free hugs. And my experience was very similar to the experiences that I'd had offering and exchanging free hugs in other places. Of course, it was different in some ways too, including one particular insight that showed up for me. I just got these words: no want, no need. I didn't have to be standing on the street with my sign at all, but I was choosing to. In choosing to, I didn't have to want in order for people to come and hug me, as opposed to walk past me or take my picture or laugh or any of the other responses that I received there, just like I'd received elsewhere. And I didn't have to be needy. There was no number of hugs that would make it a successful night versus an unsuccessful night. There was no...
No quota.
Right, no quota. There was no like, oh, I really hope that beautiful woman comes over here, but not that stinky guy with the cigar, right? Like, there was no want and no need. There was just being present and available. If somebody wants a hug, I'm happy to share one with them. If someone needs a hug, I'm happy to share one with them. But I didn't come from a place of want or need. No want, no need showed up in that context, but immediately it raised my awareness that no want, no need can be in my experience anytime, anywhere. Not only when I'm wearing a free hug sign. So I don't know, maybe one way to think of it is like in an old car, the radio would have like a knob, and you'd turn and you'd see the little red line go from one station to another Like, I discovered a new station all the way at the end of the dial. It's always been in the ethers broadcasting on that frequency, but somehow I'd never known that I could tune into it. So I tuned into this new frequency of no want, no need. And it seemed really beautiful in the context of the free hugs. And I just knew that I would be able to start noticing it in other contexts where it's also always been, but I never noticed it before.
And that frequency, it sounds like abundance.
Yeah, oh yeah, totally. So I have noticed it showing up in some other contexts.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think rereading the surrender experiment last week has reminded me of that. That in the experience of surrender, there's no want and no need.
Right. That makes sense. I got my coaching certificate, but I haven't had any clients. I think because I have been in a state of wanting and needing, and I've been shifting into the state of no want and no need, and I'm still in that phase where there's no clients still. So then, I guess I'm kind of just floating right now, if that makes sense.
Well, it does, because I'm often in between, like temporarily, innocently misunderstanding that I have no want and no need, but in that moment, it sure seems like I do. And then it will come clear to me, and then I'll lose that clarity, and then I'll remember I'm infinite again, and then I'll be forgetting and pretending I'm not infinite. So I totally understand that, and I think it's human nature, right? It's not a character flaw. It's not a symptom of mental illness. It's not something you have to forgive yourself for. It's just part of being human.
Yeah, man. Just sometimes the sky gets cloudy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it works.
That's right. And just because you can't see the sun doesn't mean it's not there. The clouds will part, the sun will be there. You have to kind of surrender into the trust of that.
And it's like the more I try to clear it up, the cloudier I make it.
Exactly, yeah. I saw that so many times with people desperate to laugh, trying so hard to make themselves laugh. And that was everything causing them not to laugh. But being able to see that, whether it's in the context of laughter, getting clients, making new friends, remembering words in a new language, like it's all the same. It's just like the vibration of resisting versus allowing. Like one of my simple sayings is, may the allow be with you. What does that phrase kind of remind you of?
Like besides Star Wars?
No, exactly Star Wars.
Okay.
Yeah, so what is the Star Wars phrase?
May the force be with you.
Yeah, what does it feel like to force things?
Ah.
I gotta have a client, I gotta get a hug, like whatever it is, right? Like what's the energy of forcing?
So you're repelling them.
Yes. And you can feel that just by thinking about what is it like to force something, can you? So now allow yourself the experience of thinking what allowing might feel like.
It's more like inviting. And and not dependent on the guests coming or not.
Unconditional. Yeah, totally. So that's something you can look at in your own experience. How can I become, like in coaching we would say, better calibrated, right? How can I notice with greater and greater sensitivity? How can I have more and more awareness of what feels like resistance or forcing or making something happen, and what feels like surrender or allowing? Like there's a clear difference in the way it feels. There's a clear difference in the kind of thinking. Maybe there's more ways that you or anybody could tune in and discern the distinction between them. I'm just pointing in that direction. And then share with me, what do you notice? That's it. That's it. You'll notice what you need to notice. And it might not be all at once, and it might not be right away, but it's already there to be noticed.
It's like just imagining what a situation would feel like, would feel like through the lens of abundance. You start to feel that feeling already.
Yeah.
In your body.
Totally. What you think, you feel immediately. Always.
I wonder why that's not more like why is that not common knowledge?
Well, it's not taught in school, and it's kind of counter to like Western pharmaceutical-driven medical paradigm. Let's just say the pharmaceutical-driven Western medicine paradigm, which I've heard described as pre-paradigm, actually. That what we're discussing, that I'm calling the nature of thought, with credit to Sydney Banks and the three principles, that's a paradigm. The state of psychology and psychiatry in the US, and let's say the Western world more broadly, it's pre-paradigm, meaning there's all sorts of schools of thought, and some of them have some things in common, and some of them are diametrically opposed, and you could find some helpful results in any of them, but there's nothing that unifies it, right? There are different schools of thought or different models, but they're pre-paradigm. The three principles are a paradigm. The nature of thought is a paradigm. So we've seen, like we as humans over the course of our history have seen paradigm changes. This is as significant as that. And I'm not taking any credit for it. I'm not trying to like in any way like inflate my ego for sharing this with anybody. I'm saying don't even take my word for it. Look in your own experience. It's completely not about me.
And then I know what my friend Vadim, who's becoming a non-dualism nerd,
Yeah.
like he'll say like, no, but you and I are both infinity, so maybe it is about you, because I am you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you remember this. You didn't answer my question before, by the way.
What was it again?
Well, the question was, did you read the Symbol Book of Infinity a second time, and what did you notice that seemed different?
I felt it was too early for me to read it again. I think I needed more time to get that difference, you know?
Maybe.
Because I had just read it.
Yeah, maybe you do, maybe you don't.
Because like with Power now, I read like once a year.
Yeah,
I feel like if I read it like in the same month, I might not get that other thing. Like
I hear you.
Like my lens might not have changed yet.
Yeah. Well, I think our lenses changed literally moment by moment, but I do take your point. And perhaps reading it just simply because we've had this conversation will be maybe you'll be able to notice you've got different lenses now that we've had this conversation. I mean, we've never met before. We've had some chat on WhatsApp, but anyway, it's something that I'm infinitely curious about with anybody who reads the book. Like I invite readers to contact me and share with me. What did you notice that was different between your first read and second read, or second and third, or whatever, like however many times you read it. It's not a very long book. It's a simple book.
I remember like what caught my attention when I read it the first time was that you mentioned innocent many times. Like an innocent misunderstanding.
Yeah. How does that word sort of fit in for you? Like what does it even mean for you?
I think right now, it kind of, I think it's linking back to my feelings of guilt before. That I would feel like, oh, you're so stupid for not realizing your mistake or your miscalculation. But now in your book it says, it's just an innocent miscalculation.
Yeah.
It's just normal.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're saying that innocence would support forgiveness.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, good.
Yeah, that's it.
I feel like seeing our infinite nature and all the various ways in which we can like experience being infinite sounds so complicated, but that's the simplest thing in the world to me. And it's a paradigm, right? It's there's no technique to become infinite.
Right.
Right. I'm not trying to tell people how to stop pretending you're not infinite. It's a paradigm. And sometimes you can see it really clearly, and other times it's harder to see, or it's not apparent, it's not in our awareness. But to me, like, the more I've been exploring this paradigm, the more simple it seems to me.
Now I feel I have to ask you, do you ever feel that everything is already predetermined?
I want to say yes and no.
Yeah.
But I I really can't claim to know an answer to that. But I feel the inspiration of Michael Singer's book, The Surrender Experiment, where essentially what he illustrates through all these stories of his life, it's his autobiography, and he's saying that he would slow down, like I'm talking about, and he would cast aside personal preference. Do I want, do I not want? And whatever the universe seemed to be inviting him to experience, that's what he was surrendering to, without regard for wanting or not wanting, without his personal preferences. And so his whole life story is about surrendering to these invitations from the universe, which allowed him to meet an enormous number of people and build some successful businesses that made huge contributions to the development of society, earn a lot of money, and none of it was because he was some cutthroat businessman. He was a yogi who lived to meditate. Yeah. That's it. He just did yoga and meditation and surrendered. So I'm very inspired by that. And that feels like where my exploration of the vibe and voice of Don Gian has taken me. It's like just where I'm at now.
I love hearing Michael Singer laughing.
He's got a lot of videos, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of content.
Yeah. Nice.
He's always laughing at how silly, like something that can seem so stressful. It's like, actually, it's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
With Nick, I feel like when I say the word infinity, my mind thinks that it knows what that means. So then I've changed the label from infinity to inskibbity.
Inskibbity.
And then my mind is like, what is that? It's like, I'm trying to grasp it, but what is it? And then I try to tell, like, you'll never figure it out. And then my mind is like annoyed.
Oh.
It's like, but I want to figure it out. What?
Yeah, so that's force and allow. Yeah. The reason I circled back to the question about did you read the book a second time and notice anything different was because there was something in the book that I wanted to mention. Do you happen to recall what I referred to as the original paradox? I mentioned paradox a few times. Yeah, the original paradox, like the original sin in the Garden of Eden. The original paradox. What do you? Yeah, what?
It sounds like like seeking something.
I don't know. Like I didn't seek it. I just noticed it.
I don't know. I mean, like the paradox, like someone trying to understand something, and then by seeking it, they just totally lost it.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. So we're this one infinite formless being that creates infinite forms, some of which are human, not all, right? So
it's a tiny planet in a giant universe.
Yeah. So those of us having this human experience, of which we can identify many shared experiences, common experiences that we call human nature, as well as distinct experiences, unique individual experiences. We have both. Wow, look at that.
What's up, bro?
I hope that can be seen by the camera.
He just jumped out.
Yeah, he's fast. Is it a little gecko? Or what is it?
I don't know, he looked kind of spiky.
So
I've never had that happen before.
Yeah, wow.
I forget what you were saying.
I was saying the original paradox is our sense of self or individuality. We can't have that if we weren't first this creation or projection or manifestation of the one infinite formless being that we're part of. That's what we really are. And only paradox, the original paradox, can account for us thinking we're something other than that. Like, you can't think your way to solving that. Like, all you can do, as far as I can tell, is just appreciate the beauty of nature. Like, don't confuse a paradox with a riddle. That's it.
Right.
We often do. And we try and solve it like it's a riddle, but there's no solution because it's not a riddle, it's a paradox.
Right.
That's all. That's all. So I love paradox.
Same.
Yeah. But you got to kind of love it from a distance, like appreciating it like beauty, like a work of art or nature.
Like the first paradox I guess I became aware of was the paradox of enlightenment. But I didn't think to apply the same paradox to happiness. So in my mind, like, oh, okay, I'm done seeking enlightenment, but I was still seeking happiness through relationships, through whatever.
Yeah. Innocent misunderstanding, right?
Until like I totally lost in that, like, oh my God, it's the same paradox.
Yeah.
I just forgot to apply it.
Yeah.
Now here we are.
I'm glad that we met.
Thanks,
I like, yeah. Yeah, thanks, Dick. Yeah. I'm grateful to have this conversation with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure, we'll chill again.
Yeah.
I don't know, if you have free time, some friends and I, we meet up to have interesting conversations. Maybe like twice a month or something.
Okay. So are we done? Is that it? Are you guys done?
I think we're done because I'm getting hungry. I'm gonna get something
All right.
to do.
I'm so itchy.
I'm wondering, are you vegetarian?
Toi tuan chai. I'm vegan.
Oh, vegan, okay.
Yeah. Anchai vegetarian, tuan chai vegan.
Oh, true, cool.
Yeah.
And you should meet my other friend, Vadim and Guido. They're also vegan. Well, Guido is legit vegan.
Legit. You have a illegitimate vegan friend too?
No, and Vadim is like sometimes. Sometimes yes, sometimes not.